I'm basically a person who believes in faith, and faith has helped me a lot to get through stutter. I also, there's a word in my scripture. It says "Tera bana meetha lage." It means like the way you keep me seems sweet to me. But I think it's all part of the book of God's plan, and it's all and take stuttering as a gift, not as a punishment or something.
Welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about living with communication differences. It is a production of the Communication Collaborative and is in solidarity with the Newfoundland and Labrador Stuttering Association. My name is Greg O'Grady. I am a person who stutters and your host. Some Stutter Law is a unique opportunity for us to discuss topics, experiences, and perspectives on what it is like to live with communication differences, to live with a disability, but also to uplift and inspire, to rebuild confidence through inclusive language and themes, and to instill hope by dismantling myths, stigma, stereotypes, and barriers surrounding speech, language, and disability challenges. Some Stutter Law is a safe space to speak, to own your truth, a safe space to communicate differently without the fear of being judged or feeling shame. If you only get one thing from this podcast, we hope it's this. It's okay to stutter and it's okay to communicate differently. It's not how we communicate that's important, it's the message that's important. So let's communicate differently without the need to ask permission or to apologize for being you. For more information about the Communication Collaborative or this podcast, you can find us at somestutterlaw.ca. Some Stutter Law welcomes Aaron Silverthorne, Judith Silverthorne, and Jayan Juneja. Now a little about our Some Stutter Law guest today. Aaron is a producer of Silverlight Productions who resides in Saskatchewan. They are currently producing a half-an-hour documentary called Echo Words. The film is about stuttering, the causes, the effects, and how learning techniques can aid in increasing fluency. The show features a high school student about to graduate going through a weekend clinic at iStar. During his time there, he learns techniques of how to improve his fluency and gain confidence to do the things that stuttering would normally limit him from doing. Echo Words will be broadcast on ami.ca in the fall of 2023. Aaron is also a person who stutters. He is very passionate about this documentary and hope to reach as many people as possible. Not only does Aaron want this information about stuttering to be disseminated, but also want people to know there is hope out there if they choose to seek it. Judith Silverthorne is an author of multiple books for children, youth, and adults, as well as a television documentary producer who loves to travel and meet people. As a communicator and storyteller, she is keenly interested in hearing and sharing the stories of others, especially about those who are often overlooked or underrepresented and have so much to offer and bring awareness to the world. Judith is also Aaron's mother. Jayan is the star of Echo Words documentary. Jayan is in his senior year of high school and is applying for engineering school. Social Work is delighted to promote Echo Words on our social media platforms to help spread awareness. So welcome to this week's conversation about stuttering. I'm sensing that given the three of your background, Social Work will be inviting you back for individual Some Stutter Laws guest conversations. So I'm looking forward to inviting all of you back again separately. Aaron and Jaden, would you share a little about your history as people who stutter for our listeners?
As a person of stutter, I was first introduced to stuttering when I was 6 years old, and it's been um, really up and down till then. When I first noticed stuttering, my parents were like, "What is this?" And then my mom started researching on stuttering and started to take me to stuttering therapy in India. And since then, I have done about 5 to 8 to different stuttering therapies to different people, and it's just like the same. Like when I do the therapies, it's just when I do the therapies, I get better, but when I leave it, it just starts to get worse, right? And but when I found iStar, it really made a change. Like if you notice right now, I'm barely stuttering. I'm using my skills I learned at iStar, so iStar has really helped me a lot. And as a stutterer, especially in school, earlier, like in 2008 or something, people weren't really educated about stuttering, especially in India. And I used to get poked a lot. Someone used to call me speed breaker. Someone used to call me bump, and someone just used to like say, "We don't have hold. They speak faster, bro." And I'm like, "Bro, I can't." Right? It's really not me who's controlling it. It's just happening, right? And I was like shocked to like why I cannot speak properly, and it has also affected my social life. But there's one thing about me, like I don't let anything stopping, like I don't let anything bad stopping me from doing good. So you still used to talk to my friends and stuff, and I made a really good friends. So it affected my social life. I could do better, but I'm happy with what I am right now.
Well, I guess my history, I guess it goes back. I'm not quite as young as Jayan is. I guess I first noticed mine. I think I phoned home, and I think I left a voicemail at the time. And by the time I had gotten home, it was me that actually heard it, and so I was actually in shock. I had no idea that I sounded like that. So then that, and then from that day, it sort of affected me where I kind of felt like, maybe I shouldn't speak as much. I think I withdrew. So it sounds great when I hear someone like Jane who, it sounds like he's not going to let it hold him back as much as it held me back. Now I'm 38 and I feel like I'm just kind of getting into my stride, and because I think it affected me, my social skills. I didn't want to speak out loud in public. There's times where you would like to express yourself, but you just can't. Or sometimes you'll avoid words and things. So then what you're trying to say, it definitely does not come across the way that you may have meant it. And so it's kind of an interesting perspective that I think that we all have. And I mean, I can only specifically speak for myself, but I think it's given me an understanding of where people's viewpoints are, and that we all have something that we try to avoid, or we all have these kind of air quotes glitches. So and I guess what kind of inspired me to do this film is that I actually went to iStar. I can't remember the year, but I think it was at least 12 years ago, and that was the first time that I heard anyone that even sounded like me. So I felt, I guess it was a comforting experience at the time, and the group that we had, I think there's around 10 or 12 of us, and we became really good friends, of course, and we could sit around in a pub and we could laugh at each other and stuff, and we would tell our stories about when someone went to go and ask a girl on a date or whatever, and they stuttered so bad they just stopped in their tracks and they just walked away, and it's like that. But yeah, so
listening to you both, I reflect when I became aware of the severity of my stutter. because when I was younger, I guess it was in grade 2 or 3, I became more aware that I had trouble talking. And so what I did to avoid it, I started to hide. I started to disappear into the shadows. So I became a
Mhm.
covert person who stuttered. And it was only when I was around 20, and it's hard to believe, when I was when I was leaving home for Ontario, I had to buy a plane ticket. And I wasn't aware how severe my stutter was because I couldn't hide it. And I couldn't say a word. I had to sort of write my request down. I wanted to buy a ticket. And I remember that when I was away from home, whenever I was asked my name, I had a secondary characteristic of stuttering. So when people asked me what my name was, I used to say, point to the ceiling and say, look now, look now, look now, look now, look now, look now. My name is Greg. That's how severe my stuttering was, and I wasn't even aware of that. I actually hit it so well. All the tricks of the trade, word substitutions, and only spoke when I was had to.
Mhm.
Judith, as a mom of a child who stutters, can you share a little about your experience first noticing Aaron's starting to stutter? What was your experience?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I really actually am quite embarrassed and maybe even ashamed of the fact that I never noticed that he was really stuttering at the young age that he was. To me, I just thought he was always shy and he just never maybe finished sentences or something like that. And I'm kind of an extrovert, and I sort of would always kind of just take over or something, the conversations and that. And so it wasn't until he was, like you said, maybe 12, 15 years ago that I realized, that he really had that problem. And I think I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but I think Aaron was the one that really brought it to my attention, and then I started investigating in that, and I think then somehow together we figured out about iStar and sent him there for some treatment. But yeah, I can't believe I was that oblivious, um, because
Mm-hmm.
I think in many ways he hid it so well as well,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wasn't aware, and I feel really badly that I wasn't more
Mm-hmm.
aware
Mm-hmm.
when he was younger.
Do you, like many of the moms I speak to and parents, there's an element of guilt. Perhaps I should have done more. Have you gone through that yourself, Judith?
Totally, totally, yeah. And when we first interviewed Holly up at iStar just as a preliminary to kind of get a demo reel going for the show. I remember her giving us some facts and her saying, it's not the
Mm-hmm.
parents' fault,
Mm-hmm.
and it was so emotional because I
Mm-hmm.
thought it
Mm-hmm.
was. I thought it was my
And
fault.
as a parent of a person who stutters, you're always worried about your child. It's I read somewhere that stuttering is worrying about stuttering is a 7 day, 24 hour a day worry. And it's for parents and people who stutter as well. Judith, as an author of multiple books for your children, youth, and adults, as well as a television documentary producer, can you share a few more details about your books for children, youth, and adults, as well as being a documentary producer? Are there themes involved? Because to be honest with you, like I haven't heard of you before. No disrespect, but what types of books?
Yeah, well, I have quite a few children's series of books, and there's one series about dinosaurs and going back in time and that, and I actually started writing those because Aaron was so interested in dinosaurs and things when he was little. By the time they all came up, out, he was of course grown up or whatever. But anyway, and I love imagining going back in time. I have a book, a ghost series based on ghost stories in Government House here in Regina, and time travel about pioneer days and things like that. My adult stuff, though, is more nonfiction, and it's adult nonfiction, really, about woodworkers and furniture makers and things like that. And from those, I have gone on to produce documentaries in regards to those. And at some point, I'd like to do a film of some of the other books as well. And I have an adult novel, Convictions. It's strictly historical, about the first women who were convicts and were shipped off to Australia. I've got such a weird variety. And then I have one that's based on Plains Cree legend, honoring the buffalo, but that is done in conjunction with a Cree elder. It was his story. He asked me to do that story so that the oral story wouldn't be lost, and it's done really quite well. And I've done an animated version for TV and things like that. But mainly my documentaries are about really interesting people and aspects about things that people wouldn't know necessarily about. So, this when Aaron wanted some help with this one, I mean, that was just so obvious that I had to do this one.
Where would our listeners find you in terms of your books?
I think I'm in most major bookstores. I have a website and, various publisher sites and things like that. And yeah. So it's just my name, judithsilverthorne.ca.
Okay, let's talk about this, this exciting documentary. I'm so pleased to hear about this. And, the more that we make documentaries, films, it's fabulous. The more we build awareness, because there's such a need for awareness and understanding about stuttering. First of all, how did Echo Words come about?
Well, I guess I'll take the lead on this one. Well, actually, like I said, when I went to iStar maybe 12 or 13 years ago, I'm not quite sure exactly the date, but I was so taken back that kind of my story, it seemed like everyone, they kind of knew who I was, and I was always sort of not necessarily ashamed. That's not quite the word, but I thought, and I think I actually said it out loud. I said, like, one day I'm going to do a doc on this, because it's just such a fascinating, because I learned just so much about myself, and there were people there, like one guy, I think he was a principal. There's another guy, I think he works for a major recording label, and he's out there and he's talking all the time, and I just so fascinated with it all. And so I guess in the last couple of years or so, I started to kind of do film, and I've done a few things, and I approached my mom, and she said, well, I think that's a really great idea. So she helped me write proposal. So we brought that to the Yorkton Film Fest. Well, actually, she went and she gave it to them, and then we got a call back, and they said that they might be interested. So, and then AMI, they said that they would give us the funds, and then we just had to kind of start from there. And then I reached out to iStar to make sure that it would be okay with them, and I asked them if they knew of anyone that would be good for a film, and that's how I met JJ in there. Yeah. So then it all kind of worked out, and we lined up everything, and Jayan was a great fit. His family was great. His mom cooked us some great food, and the experience that I got was great. So.
Okay. Where was the film made? Like, so did you go to Alberta to film Jaden?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we went up to Edmonton, where iStar is, and so some of it was filmed up there. And then when Jayan was attending a weekend refresher course, we were there for that whole thing. So.
Okay. Now, where did the name Echo Words come from? That's a great name. I love the name.
That's a nice question.
Well, the echoed words actually, when we presented it, I wrote down a whole bunch of things that I thought might work, and then I said that, and that's kind of how we presented it. And then from then on, I guess that's what we called it. And then everyone, like yourself, they said, "Oh, well, that's a great name." And so then it kind of stuck, I guess. But it was not my intention for that to be the name for the whole time. But it was just something that we could then refer to the film as. But
Did you consider other names, or was that the one that came to mind specifically?
to be honest, I can't remember all of the names, but they seemed like when I brainstormed, they just didn't really seem like they fit. And I guess that was kind of the best of the bunch. I guess I'm not really all that creative, I guess. But that was the best name. And I think now, I think when I look back, I think it actually does fit. It kind of is a kind of an echo chamber, I think, at least for myself, because I mean, I'm alone with my thoughts all the time. I prefer to be alone. The music that I play, for the most part, 95% of it I play to my cat, and I'm really recluse. But like I said before, I'm starting to kind of grow out of that. So I really think that the name, at least it fits for me. I'm not sure if it fits for Jane or not, but.
Jane, what are your thoughts about the name?
I'm fine with the nickname though. I mean, it's a really nice name. It's echoed words. I'm absolutely fine with the name.
It's a great. So Jane, as a star of the documentary, how how has it changed you? Has it changed? Are you feeling more confident now?
Oh yeah. When I was in the hotel, I was out of station when Miss Holly called me. Like, we have opportunity for you. You want to sit first? I'm like, sure. What's the opportunity? And I'm like, you want to shoot a documentary? I'm like, what? Me? Documentary? Are you sure? And then yeah, and I was kind of excited, but at the same time, every stutterer has this problem. Like they get nervous that they have to talk, and like they get nervous like if we stutter, what will happen, blah blah blah, right? Yeah, and yeah, I had some of those thoughts before documentary, but when I met Aaron and Judith, especially when Miss Holly was there, everything was comfortable. Like Aaron and Judith were really polite and really supporting. So it didn't really affect me that much though. But yeah, it was a great experience, and after documentary, I was really educated about stuttering. It was really good to know that there are more people like me who stutter. I met Aaron, and we kind of related a lot, and we had a really good time, and it educated me like Miss Holly told me this once, like there like there could be a permanent cure for stuttering, but the people who stutter don't like to raise their voices because they have trouble talking, right? And like for example, the people who have cancer, they can speak. They still raise their voices, and they still go next level to find the cure for it, right? But like I think the people who stutter has a bit. I'm not saying they don't. I'm still saying they do, and I've seen a lot of interviews online that do, but I think it's not as popular as cancer or something, right? And that's what I thought. It's a great opportunity to do my part and educate as much people as I could, right? So
now, Jaden, is Aaron and Judith your agents?
Agents? No.
Yeah.
No.
What do you? I mean, I mean, I would say
No, you see,
I would say they're more of friends, and in case of the documentary, they were director and producer. So I wouldn't say agents, to be honest. But,
oh no, the reason why I'm asking, I was surprised that your agent didn't send me a contract to sign with your permission for you
pardon?
to appear.
Pardon? Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So has Echo Words changed your perspective? And this is for you as well, Judith, on stuttering. Has it given you a different lens on stuttering?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've learned so much throughout the whole filming process, but also even in just conversations with both Jayan and Aaron, and just learning. Like, I had no idea the depth or how many different kinds and ways of stuttering and how it affected people. I had no idea, just very minutely at all. And before I went into it, I thought it was really valuable and necessary to do, and now I think so, even more so. That people need to become more aware of what stuttering is and how it affects people. And I think, it would make the world a whole lot better place if people understood it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
And how about you, Jane and Aaron? Are you seeing stuttering through a different lens now?
you want to go first, Sarah?
You can go first.
Well, okay. Echoed words has really affected. Like, I mean, imagine Miss Holly told that 1% of the world has stuttering. That is, if we look at Alberta or just in one small city in Vinton, 10,000 people have stuttering, right? And I was at my job yesterday, and a lady walked into me and said, like, I noticed you stutter, and I'm like, yeah. And as the conversation progressed, we came to a conclusion that if you stutter, it's better to like educate that person first, and then, because it makes more of a comfortable environment for you. And I think that's what echoed words helped in doing it, though, because it basically showed how a stutterer can go through the daily life, and there is also a hope. There is also a cure for stuttering, which you can adapt eventually in your life.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering now, after doing this documentary, and Judith, you're welcome to weigh in on this. How has it affected your mental health? Stuttering. There's very little known about stuttering, but even less is known about mental health of stuttering. They're below the surface of the iceberg. So, how has it affected your mental health?
Are you asking me, or do you think this might be one for Aaron?
Yeah. All of you, yeah. Just weigh in.
I think maybe Aaron, you speak to it first. I'm not sure. I have to think about that question. Yeah.
Well, I think it is a pretty big question. I think for the mental health part, I think it has taught me kind of ways to cope, I think, with that kind of stress. I think for myself, I think often I kind of just try to laugh at things. Like I said, when I was at iStar, we would tell stories about these embarrassing times that we've had in our life. But I think once I get beyond all the kind of like when I start to think it through and I really start to kind of dive deep into things that, and I look at kind of the choices that I've done in life, for instance, my job, like I have a job where it's very hands-on, but for the most part, I mean, I can hide out. I work in a steam plant and I also work in a lab, and I fix things. So I basically have to go get something to fix, then I bring it back, and I don't really have to talk. So there's a lot of things that I think I would have preferred, I think, to do. And I think when I did this film, it was something it really helped my health, because now I'm doing something that I actually enjoy and I feel good about, and it's not that I held back. And of course, when I'm doing this type of subject, it kind of gave me the okay to be someone who, like, I'm stuttering, but because I'm doing a film on this, it made me feel good about it, and it made me feel more justified if my speech isn't all that great. Well, I'm doing something about myself that I feel good about. So kind of it relieved the guilt, because I think that we all kind of have guilt. Like for instance, if someone they ask us the time and then they have to stand there for 5 minutes while we rattle off the time and we stutter, or if they ask us how our day is, something that could have been quick, it turns into this long kind of drawn out thing. And I don't think people they kind of appreciate that. And if and you kind of you notice people and they zone out and things. So it's kind of there's often times I'll leave a conversation and I'll kind of think and I'll think to myself, like, did that person just think I'm dumb? Like should I have just said, oh yeah, everything is good, and then just leave, or should I have actually tried to engage? And for the most part, I don't really engage. But like Jayan said, I've got some friends that are quite good. Like we can go for drives and we can talk about everything. We can talk even about this. And for the most part, they kind of understand and they finish what they think I'm trying to say. And because I've been friends with them for so long, I find that they actually know exactly what I meant to say. And sometimes if they see that I'm struggling through, they'll try and help, which depending on the person is good, but sometimes it's bad. It's kind of hard to explain, but so I think though for the most part, just through my kind of years in I think my experience, I've kind of learned how to kind of navigate. But of course, there are things that I wish I would have done, and there are things that I plan to do, but it's kind of taken me a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can go next.
Yep.
Yeah. So the question was how. Okay. So basically, I think echoed words was, I think there has mostly been positive impact from the documentary on my mental health, because first the experience was great, and secondly I would say the nervousness before documentary, and when you do something so big that the small things doesn't matter to you, right? Like when you do something, so suppose you do a presentation and then after that you have to speak in front of a small group of people, right? When you have done the presentation, the small group of people is just a really small thing for you, right? And that's basically the idea. The echoed words after doing that thing has really given me confidence that I can do anything now. If I can do a documentary or and I can represent in front of everyone, I can at least speak in front of my group of friends and crack some jokes, right? And that's the idea. I think mental health, not only the documentary, but in general stuttering, also has positive impacts. Like for example, um, like people have embarrassing moments, right? Like, like like for example, my friend goes and asks a good girl out, and then say, and if the girl rejects them and say it was so embarrassing. And for us, there have been a lot of embarrassing moments since the day we noticed that sisters have started like talking to anyone, and if you get stuck on a word and you just like go that is also embarrassing for us, right? Like now these small things like asking people how do you get rejected, it doesn't really matter to you because you have already faced a lot of bigger, and you have already overcome this phase and become really stronger in your own mental health, right?
Mm.
And I
And so, Judith, I'm wondering now, listening to Aaron, there seems to be he's changed his perspective about stuttering. He's more, I guess, accepting coming out. That must you must feel good about this mentally.
Yeah, Yeah, I do, because he's much more open about how he feels and how it affects him and what he needs. Whereas before, I'd even push him into things, thinking he just needed to practice. That he was being shy or needed to practice something, and really that wasn't what he needed. So, so I feel that I've learned so much more that way. I feel a little bit less guilty about not recognizing it, not so much, or no, not less guilty about that, but less guilty about it being my fault and thinking it was because of me somehow, or genetics, or I don't know what. But I feel like there's some sort of healing happening, emotionally and mentally as well, and I think that it is improving our relationship a great deal, because now we can be much more open about what's going on and how it's affecting him, how I see it. He can see, where I was coming from too, I think, and I think it's just started a whole healing process, and for both of us individually and as a mother and son. I think it's yeah. To me, that's what I feel anyway, and I think I don't know if I'll ever come to terms with the fact that I didn't pick up on it and all of that. I mean, I can't go back, but at the same time, I feel now that maybe I could be a lot more supportive.
Mm-hmm. And Jane, has your parents commented on your like a change in you, like you're more confident? What about your parents' perspective?
Yeah. When my pa- 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 when my parents noticed stuttering in me, my my mom was like really supportive. I still do remember she used to spend like hours on the computer so searching about stuttering therapy near me, and she used to take me to each and every therapy classes. My mom used to understand me a lot, and my sister was actually a like back supporter, like always more motivating me to to not try to avoid things and do it even though you have stuttering, and put yourself in situations that will make you bigger, right? And now after the documentary, they have become more educated and more confident. Like um like there are days when I stutter a lot, and they do understand that he's tired, he's fine, and they kind of help me out through it. And they have become more confident in me. Like they can help me with my stuttering, and they know how to react to.
Mm. So after doing this documentary, has your perspective changed on what I call the F word, fluency? So do you see fluency in a different light now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say, yeah, I was in one of the sessions with Miss Holly during the documentary, and I don't think they were shooting at that time, but we were there. I think it's more about, for a stutter, it's more about speaking with ease than more about fluency. Everyone has stutter, like even the greatest speaker in the world have stutter, right? But they have the ease of speaking. We kind of breath hold, we kind of have pain in our stomach while we're speaking, and I think it's kind of at the point like where you convey your message easily, and you don't experience pain and stuff while you're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I, I would say as a stutterer, if you achieve that, you have 80% of the fluency already.
Mm.
Right?
And how about you, Aaron? How do you feel about fluency now? The definition. I
Um,
know mine have changed completely since I did speech therapy, but I'm curious what you're thinking.
well, I think that Jane, I think he kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, there will never be a time that'll be 100%. But what I can do is I can change kind of the way that I feel about it and how I feel about myself, and that goes for I think everything in life. And I think that when I hear Jane say that, it's like I wish I would have thought the same way that he does at his age, and I think that's really great, and I think that's why I think he was such a great star in our film too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good for you. There's a nice compliment for you, Jaden.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It's actually it's my pleasure to be a part of this documentary. Though I don't know if I did deserve it or not, but I'm glad they chose me.
Mm-hmm.
Judith, I'm wondering now, like, there's a whole paradigm shift in thinking when it comes to fluency. As a parent now of a child that stutters, I know that a lot of parents, when they go to speech therapy, they'll focus on fluency. I want my child to be fluent. Has that paradigm shift changed for you?
Well, in a sense, I guess. Of course, one always hopes there will be more fluency, I'm more understanding, more accepting, and all I want is him to be comfortable and to be able to speak for what he wants and and get what he wants and be able to express himself in any way that he is comfortable and not have to struggle.
Wonderful. So in terms of like self-disclosure now, Aaron and Jane, do you feel it's important for people who started to self-disclose? Yes, I'm a person who stutters.
Well, I guess I can go first. Actually, before the film, I actually had no idea that people they actually. I think you guys use it's a PWS. Is that the acronym that you
Yeah,
guys use?
people who stutter, yeah.
Yeah, because I've never even heard of that. So I mean, I guess I'm kind of on the fringe there. I think I've tried to be more kind of forthcoming, but I often find that sometimes it comes across as I'm trying to make up an excuse, or they're expecting me to use that as an excuse not to do something. So I kind of try to just like they'll figure it out on their own, I'm sure, anyways. So I try to just kind of wear it on my sleeve and just hope for the best and try and speak as well as I can and try not to avoid words. But I think um, after I did the film and I was the one I think for the most part who had to actually interview Jayan. It was kind of like when I asked him a question, it was like it was me who would answer back, and so for a self kind of reflection, I haven't actually decompressed it all yet, and I think because we're doing the film still and it's on its
Mm-hmm.
final cut. I'm still trying to kind of think things through and really trying to kind of now that I've seen him go and get help, I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe I should go and maybe is this something that I should work on more? Is it something that I should just work on how I feel about more? Should I get myself out there more? And I think for everyone, it's all depends on the person. But I think for myself right now, I just want to kind of get through this film part, and then after that, um, I'm really going to start to sort of assess because as we speak about this is something that I never ever speak about. So it touches on the nerves where I've sort of identified just as we kind of be spoken through that yeah, this is something that I need to kind of work on. So it's been a very interesting experience, that's for sure.
Mm. So once you finish the documentary and start to promote it publicly, what would you like the public to get out of this? People who stutter, the general public. Well, what are your hopes?
Well, people that stutter, I think I like the fact that I was somewhat part of the voice for all of those who stutter, who are the ones that are at home right now that are too afraid to speak or they have a job where they don't like. But I also want to spread the fact that I think it's an important idea for people that I think that education, no matter if you stutter, if you have a physical disability, I think education is the key. And I think what we really need to do is we need to teach people that everyone needs to be taught and we need to learn and we need to sort of exist here. And we're kind of on the fringe of society where I think that a lot of people they're able to speak out about a lot of the things that people in previous years used to maybe look down on. And I think it's a perfect time for us all to sort of learn about not just our stuttering, but just learn that we need to learn about everyone. And I think that we have to learn how to accept and perhaps give people more time and maybe not honk at the person who can't cross the street as fast as we would like, or the person who can't speak as fast as we would like. So I really hope that this is something that this will open up the door, that kind of message will get through to people. And I'm kind of excited that this one, it kind of hit close, I think, to home, and I'm quite proud of that.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, Jane? What would you like the public to get out of this?
I'm still doing I'm still doing one-on-one sessions at ISAR, but I also think like I also think stuttering is a blessing in disguise, because for first thing, if you go into your job interview, right, and you tell them I have stuttering, instead of like making them figure it out on them first, it makes you look more confident, and it makes you look more open, like, hey, I'm stuttering, I might be speaking a bit slow, but be patient with me. And secondly, it's also a power, because it gives you more time to think, and more time to think on what you want to speak, while you're while you want to take your time, and while you're stuttering, right? It's also a power that you have in you, and it is also the blessing in disguise, because it builds you in a really good listener, and which eventually uh, leads you to a good person, because I think listening is a great power that a person should have, instead of just speaking, because I think if I didn't have such stuttering, I'm a really talkative guy, and I would speak 24/7 and not let anyone else speak, right? And that's why I think it has really helped me in building my personality and who I'm at.
And your thoughts, Judith? What are your thoughts? What would you like the public to get out of this?
Well, the big win, of course, is about awareness, and to let people know that what stuttering is, and how it affects people. But I think it's more than that. I think it's to grow empathy in general for everybody, to be more cognizant and understanding, and aware that we're not all the same, and to be more accepting, and to be more patient, and all of those things. But certainly the awareness, especially about that, because I think there's so much emphasis on other things, as we talked about, whether it's being hard of hearing, or not being able to see, or as well, or whatever it is. But I think stuttering is one of those things that is not very well known, or not much known about it, and yeah, or has some strange associations, and it's kind of myth busting in a way, and also, like I say, just bringing people to be more aware and patient and kind.
We're well, I'm also the chair of the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association, and we're not for profit, and we host an annual workshop, a conference annually, and not to put you all on the spot, but what I would love to do is to invite the three of you to give a workshop for the NLSA, and to show the film and have a Q&A after. Would you be interested in something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
Yes, I would do it for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
So Jane, it's nice to know that your agents are very supportive of this.
Of course.
Jayan, are you in?
Well,
he's in.
I think I got the best. agents, right? To be honest.
I'd like to say I agree with that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, Jayan was just so super. I mean, he's just it was just such an honor to work with him, and we're so grateful that he said thank you. He was just so perfect, such a perfect fit. The broadcasters love him and love the show, and yeah, it's just.
My God. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I'm sure that the larger stuttering community and the general public will benefit from seeing it, definitely, because we need to spread more awareness for stuttering, because as you were saying, Judith, we all agree there's not much attention paid to stuttering. And there's a strong role for educators, the school system, and the government to step up to the plate to provide more specialized treatment and services and subsidized treatment,
That's a fact for sure, and I do believe that especially in a school which you have a person who stutter, they should educate all of the students. Like, yeah, I mean, they should do some presentation in school, which educate people about stuttering, and because in that school they have a lot of students who are friends with the person who stutter, and they I think that it's better if they get educated on how to be patient and how to talk to them, right?
Well,
I think in school it is really important.
Well, I applaud the three of you, because you're really helping the stuttering community find our voice. You really are. So thank you very much. So anyhow, I have lots of more questions, but I'm not going to keep you. But don't be surprised if I bring you back as a group and individually, because you all have such fascinating stories to tell. Now, do you have any last words for our listeners now, before we close?
I think. Jan.
No,
I'm not going to keep a man back. You can say it. You can go first.
Okay, I'll go first, and then Aaron can go after. Okay, I'm basically a person who believes in faith, and faith has helped me a lot to get through stutter. I also, there's a word in my scripture. It says "Tera bana mitha lage." It means like the way you keep me seems sweet to me. Right? I think it's all part of the God's plan, and it's all and take stuttering as a gift, not as a punishment or something. I believing in God's plan, because He wants to make you a bigger person than you think you ever are, right? And maybe this is the way you wanna, and maybe this is the way He wants you to build and get through things in your life to become a bigger person. Like for me, for example, I used to pray to God. Like I did not used to pray like God just fix my stuttering. I used to pray like, God, if it's in my benefit, please fix it. If it's not, I would like to stick to your plan and see things what you got for me. And this is how I got the documentary, and I'm doing a podcast for you, and it has also helped me in my college applications. So I mean, it is a blessing in disguise, I would say that.
And Aaron, any last words?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate that you were able to take us on, and you're helping us too by spreading the word, not only about our doc but also about our stuttering, of course. And and I just wanted to say thank you to Jayan and his family for like I said, the food, it was great when we filmed at his house, and they accommodated us, and and I hope one day I'll be back over at his house for some food.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, we got a plan. Something already planned. We gotta go to a restaurant for supper.
Right? For sure.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that.
How would you do with any last words for our listeners?
Oh, I just like to say I am so honored to have worked with my son and with Jayan, and to be able to bring this documentary forth, and thank you so much for having us here. And I hope that not only does it bring awareness about stuttering, but it helps other stutterers to know that there is some help out there, and that they're all perfect.
Wonderful. Well, guys, on behalf of Some Stutter Law, thank you for being part of our conversation today. We really appreciate it. And I feel that there may be more documentaries to come, the three of you. I have to say,
You never know.
I'm hoping so.
Hopefully.
We have a lot of footage to use yet.
Oh, well, maybe part 1, part 2, part 3. You see.
Right.
You never know.
Oh yeah, like the beginning, the middle, the conclusion,
that's
right?
true.
Echoed voice, the beginning.
Maybe part of a plan. Well, thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch, okay?
Right. Thank you.
Okay, that sounds great.
Take care.
Thank you for your time.
Bye.
Bye.
You guys.